And now we're going to take a look at the art of composing ideas for your improvised solos. When it comes to improvising, there's multiple ways that you can approach it, right? I wouldn't say there's ever really a right or a wrong way. However, there's certain ways that I feel like improperly, like they put you on a path of like improperly expressing really nothing, you know? There's no real expression happening. It's just more or less mechanical, just going through the motions, right? Which is a real phenomenon. We see that all the time with lots of guitar players, myself included. It was something I suffered with for a long time and was always just like, how can I just get better at improvising? How can I sound like all these other great guitar players, you know? I just couldn't help myself. I had to just go through the motions, right? And the reason for that is just because I built up a lot of bad habits. I wouldn't really be music forward or really even just music focused when it came to improvising. I wasn't even, to be honest, wasn't even thinking about music really. I was just like, I have a guitar in my hands and, you know, I'm gonna just play something, right? So what I did to start climbing out of that is just to like take a breath, stop really trying so hard and not going anywhere like a hamster in a wheel, right? And just really look at the basics of the basics, right? And so in the previous video, when we were talking about sort of how to begin when it comes with improvising, starting with just making one note sound good, right? Like the root note, giving it different like little embellishments and flair and stuff like that, just to force yourself into the habit of making simple ideas interesting, because you want to be able to play something simple and tasteful that doesn't require like, you know, playing particularly fast or impressive or complex, right? It's just like music is music, regardless if it's just 4 notes or if it's a million notes. So that being said, starting with less notes is just a better place to start because it's easier to wrap your head around. So we've gone over how to begin. So now let's talk about a process you can put yourself into when it comes to actually composing ideas and melodies. Now I've mentioned this before, when you sing an idea to yourself or in your head and then bring it to life, right? That's the thought process you want to put yourself into when you're improvising. Now you may ask, okay, well, how do I even start composing ideas? How do I even get there? I don't really know how to come up with anything cool. You know, I struggle with the same thing. So there are a couple things that you can actually do to help that. And I'm going to give you a couple little tricks that are actually going to kickstart that process, even in a way that is kind of a cheaty. So let's explore that. Now, if you are to come up with an idea, and let's say you haven't the faintest clue like how to even just come up with something, right? There's a little technique I like to call melodic makeovers. We can take a pre-existing melody or like a really famous one, like let's say Ring Around the Rosie, right? We have ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, all fall down. Just kind of take that, it's not even really a melody, I guess it kind of is, but it's like, whatever, it's just it's just a steady kind of like ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy. So if I were to adapt that to, let's say, E minor pentatonic, right? I could do something like this, you know. Right? It's like ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, all fall down. Right? So I kind of have this like foundational rhythm based on that melody, the Ring Around the Rosie thing, but I just brought it to life and repackaged it in a completely new way. And here's the cool thing about melodic makeovers, is that no one but you really even knows it's happening, right? It's like, if I were to play that without telling you that Ring Around the Rosie was the inspiration, you probably wouldn't guess that that's where it came from. That's part of the beauty of it, right? So, and I mean, with a technique like that, I mean, you can, like, the sky's the limit. You could take any melody, literally any melody. It can be from another lullaby or something, or it could be from a famous song, a little fragment of it. It really could be anything. So like there's an endless opportunity to pull something, you know, just completely out of your hat. And, you know, this is actually a great starting tool for if you're trying to improvise, but you can't really come up with your own lines. So this is just a cool cheat way to essentially do that. And it's not only, you know, clever and cool, but it's something that I continue to use. Like, I love doing that because, especially if I find myself, brain farting, or it's like I'm just kind of drawing a blank, which does happen all the time, So I can always defer to just doing a quick little melodic makeover, at least to get me going, right? Because whether I, take a whole solo by using that, or if I just do the first phrase with that, and then the inspiration starts, like jogging, right? Either way, like it pulls me out of a bind pretty much every time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up that backing track, the E minor backing track, the same one we did in the last video, and I'm gonna do some melodic makeovers. I'm gonna tell you what they are right now. We'll do Ring Around the Rosie, so we already covered that one. What's another one? Let's do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, right? Keep it simple. And then what's the third one? Let's do Rockabye Baby. So those are our three. We have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Rockabye Baby, and then whatever the first one was. Ring Around the Rosie, okay? So I'm gonna use those three. I'm gonna keep it real simple, but I'm gonna stick to those three, and I wanna see if you can tell me which one was which. So that was just a little hodgepodge of melodic ideas that all stemmed from those three melodies that I just went ahead and gave an E minor pentatonic makeover, essentially. So it was like, if I was doing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Twinkle, twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are, right? Or like, ring around the rosy, pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes all fall down. Or in the third one, right? Rockabye Baby, rockabye baby on the treetop. So it's just like, you can actually, if you just like take the original melody, take the melody out of it, right? Just make it to where it's more or less the beat or the rhythm of it, and then just adapt it to just a simple scale to start with, like E minor or E minor pentatonic, right? And let that be your starting point. This is a great place to mine for ideas until you reach the point where you can just kind of compose them on the fly. So this is just a good trick to get you started, so that way you're not having to sit there and just wonder, like, why aren't I creative enough coming up with stuff? It's like, I get it, don't worry, like, you don't need to put that kind of pressure on yourself, especially when you have a little tactic like melodic makeovers, essentially to get you there in the first place.